By what name are you known?
There are some who call me Tim.
Welcome to a brand new episode of Timmy Talks, the channel where we talk old school magic. And today we are going to look at the X Points finals. It's already number 48, so final 48 of their monthly meetup. And like I said, this is X Points. What does that mean? It means that when you build your deck, you have to think about a points list, and you cannot spend more than 10 points on cards with points allocated to them. Now, in case you're thinking, what does he mean? Well, this is the points list. And if you want to know more about this format, it's super cool. You can join these monthly tournaments for free. So if you want to know more about all that stuff, simply check out the description below. There's all the information there that you need if you want to join this beautiful community. And in today's match, we have Viktor, who's playing a Loin Dib Bolt, and he's taking on Ishaan, and he's playing Deeproot Depths, which is, well, I guess you could say it's a black green land destruction deck with a lot of really cool Arabian Nights creatures in it. So yeah, two really good decks going face to face today in this X Points finals. Now, before I jump into the deck text, I've got lovely deck photos of both of these decks. First, a quick message from our sponsor, 3for1 Trading. 3for1 Trading is one of Europe's leading Magic the Gathering retailers. Their online shop has a fantastic selection of high-end Magic cards, especially for vintage, legacy, and yes, also old school Magic players. But 3for1 Trading does more. They are now also buying all Magic the Gathering singles and entire collections, big and small. They're one of the top trading card game traders in Europe, buying way over 1 million Magic cards a year, and they are more than happy to make you an offer for your cards today. So, if you have any cards for sale, 3for1 Trading is the place to go. Visit 3for1.gg/selltimmy to get your offer. And we are back and ready to dive into the deck text. I'm going to start with the player on the top, and that is Viktor. Let's take a look at his Loin Dib Bolt deck. So here we see the deck of Viktor, so Loin Dib Bolt, and of course that's a well-known, strong deck. It's a very aggressive deck, especially the way this deck is built, because look at it. We've got 4 Chain Lightnings, 4 Lightning Bolts, 3 Psionic Blasts. We also have a full playset of Black Vices, so there's just going to be a lot of damage dealt in the early stages of the game when you're playing against this deck. And I think when you're playing against this Loin Dib Bolt deck, what you really want to do at the start is just survive. If you can just survive, keep your life total high enough, as high as you can, maybe then you stand a chance. But it's really, really tough playing against so much aggression, because besides, of course, the direct damage, we also have very aggressive creatures. We've got Savannah Lions, we've got Icatian Javelineers. Don't underestimate that single point of damage that those Javelineers can do, and then we also have a full playset of Surrender Efreets. We've got some Pump Knights. We've got a single White Knight in this deck as well. And then when we're looking at the points, you can see that Viktor is really showing it to us clearly. Thank you, Viktor, for doing that here on the deck photo. So we can see that the 3 Mishra's Factories, 1 point each. Then the Time Twister, 2 points, and a big banger here is Ancestral Recall for 5. But I think it's still worth it, being 5 points, that's half of your points spent on a single card. But again, I think it is very much worth it, because for 1 blue instant speed, draw 3 cards. It is insane. It will always be insane. This card is just incredibly powerful, so I get the choice here. Then when we're looking in the sideboard, we see 1 Serra Angel in the side, which I kind of like, He can board that in. I wonder when he's going to board that in, but it's nice to see a Serra in the side. You don't see that often. We also see a Falling Star. I think Falling Star can be quite good against a lot of strategies and X Points, where you also see a lot of smaller creatures. So Falling Star has, of course, that potential to kill 6 creatures with 1 flip. I mean, you got to flip really, really well, but it can kill 6 creatures. And one of the things that's often overlooked with Falling Star is that it also taps the creatures down. So even if it's a bigger creature, you can still tap it down with Falling Star, meaning that you can then probably attack with your creatures and deal some damage, even if it doesn't kill the creature of your opponent. We also see Shatterstorm in the side, which I think is quite good. It's a card that, in my opinion, is often overlooked and should probably see more play in Old School, because there are just so many artifacts in Old School. And before we move on to the deck of Ishaan, I just want to point out that I think the Black Vices in X Points are really, really strong. The reason for that is that you don't see as many Moxen in X Points, because Moxen, of course, are also pointed cards. So if you want to play all the Moxen, I don't even know if you can, but that's going to be really tough with this point system. And of course, the Black Lotus is also a card you don't see often, and that makes the Black Vice better. Why? Because it's going to take longer for your opponent to play out his or her hand, and the longer it takes, the more damage that your opponent's going to take from these Vices. So Vices in a format where you don't see a lot of Moxen or Black Lotus is really a very, very, very strong card. So I'm not surprised to see, a deck in the finals that runs Black Vices. That's not surprising at all here in X Points. Now, this is the deck of Viktor, and now let's take a look at the deck of his opponent. So we're going to have a look at the Deep Depths deck of Ishaan. Let's have a look. And here we see the deck of Ishaan, so Deeproot Depths. And, I have to say, I always really love the look of these green-black decks. They look so cool. I think Bayou looks cool. Also, Deep Shadow, that Stare looks really cool. And this deck, 4 Juzam Djinns. Who doesn't love Juzam Djinns? Look at that bad boy. And, of course, 4 Urnum Djinns as well. I think it's really cool. A lot of black bordering going on here, by the way, Ishaan. You've got a few cards to go still, but is this maybe a goal of yours to try to get this deck completely black bordered? This deck is looking very, very solid. I think the big card, right, that you think, hey, I'm missing a card, would be Dark Ritual. But I also understand that you're not playing with Dark Ritual because you've already got a little bit of Ram going with your Elves of Deep Shadow. You've got 1 Mana Bird as well. And the thing is, when you draw your Dark Ritual later in the game, it's not that great. Of course, I do love the combination Dark Ritual, Drain Life, and of course, early in the game, Dark Ritual is probably the best because then you can do, Ritual into Hippie or Ritual into an early Juzam or an early Urnum. But the problem, of course, with that is, or an Urnum's early Sengir, by the way, they're also in this deck. But yeah, the danger of all that is that maybe you're setting yourself up for a 2-for-1 in a format where players or, X Points usually playing with a lot of creature removal. So it's kind of tricky. So I get the reasoning of saying, you know what, I'm just going to play without Ritual. Also because, with Ice Storm and with Sinkhole, you basically already have a turn 2 play that you want to make, right? So turn 1, you would ideally play Elves of Deep Shadow, so Forest Elves of Deep Shadow. Then turn 2, you would go Sinkhole or Ice Storm, right? Or, of course, Hypnotic Spectre, but maybe you would rather even destroy a land first, and after that, play out your Hypnotic Spectre, because then maybe you can destroy the red source that, cancels the Lightning Bolt, or the white source that cancels the swords, who knows. So I think land destruction even goes above, the Hypnotic in that early game stage. And then, of course, a turn after your Hypnotic or your bigger creature. I think this deck is it's looking very solid. There's just, you've got a 1-drop, you've got a 2-drop strategy, and it takes off from that point. Now, of course, the big thing here and the big problem maybe for Ishaan is when I compare it with the deck of Viktor here is that Ishaan needs to win through combat damage, which in my experience is usually just a little bit tougher than trying to win, through combat damage and direct damage, and that's a combination that Viktor has and that, of course, Ishaan doesn't really have. He does have a single Drain Life that he can also look up with the Demonic, of course. So, that's going to help him. And he also plays with Mind Twist. Like, if he can, do an early Mind Twist, but then again, and now I'm getting back to the Dark Rituals again. That is where Dark Ritual can shine, right? Especially in a format where the Moxen are pointed cards, with the 10-point system. Dark Ritual is not. So the Ritual to power up your twist, that would be quite good. But of course, Ritual isn't in here. So, it means that your Mind Twist is still a very good card, but it's just going to be slower. It's going to be slower unless, of course, you have a lot of ramp cards in your hand. That's a different story. What I also really like here is the combination land removal Paralyze. Paralyze is, 1 black for an enchant creature. When you put it on the enchant creature becomes immediately tapped, which is already great. And then during the upkeep, you've got to pay 4 to untap the creature, or else it stays tapped. And what I really like about, the Paralyze is that it's a black card that you can also play on an artifact creature, on a black creature. It doesn't matter. You can just put it on any creature and it'll do its job, right? It's just going to tap it down. Your opponent's going to have to pay 4 during upkeep, which is a huge bummer. It's a huge setback, especially early in the game. And especially when you combine it with the land removal that we see here in Ishaan's deck. So I can see that being pretty powerful. In the sideboard, there's one card that I want to highlight, and that's Dark Heart of the Wood. Ishaan, of course, is playing against a deck that's full of direct damage. So Dark Heart of the Wood could be an interesting choice to board in there after the first game. So I'm going to kind of look out for that, Ishaan, if you're going to board into Dark Heart, if it's going to play a role in this match. I wouldn't be surprised. Dark Heart can be quite good against those, direct damage decks. Anyway, this is the deck of Ishaan. We've looked at the deck of Viktor. 2 beautiful decks, 2 strong decks. And let's go to the finals number 48, and find out who's going to win, Viktor or Ishaan. Game number 1, here we go. So Viktor sitting at the top here, and Ishaan at the bottom. Viktor playing Loin Dib Bolt. So white, blue, and red, starting with the plateau. And there's a Black Vice, playing with 4 Black Vices in total, passing the turn to Ishaan. And Ishaan is on black and green. A land destruction deck that also has a lot of big creatures like Urna, Medusum Djinns, of course Hypnotic Specters, and some ramp in the form of Elves of Deep Shadow. Starting here off with just a single swamp and passes the turn, so it's going to take some damage. You can see the life totals there on the right. So Ishaan here dropping to 17, passing the turn back to Viktor. So this is a great start for Viktor, right? Also because Ishaan now still has 7 in hand, so probably going to drop to 14 next turn. And Viktor's deck is full of, direct damage, Chain Lightnings, Lightning Bolts, Psionic Blast. So just dealing 6 damage with a single Vice is almost a victory already for Viktor. I could actually argue that. But maybe then I'm going a little bit too quick. Ishaan here playing a Swamp, passing. I really needed to play a Sinkhole here. That could have helped him, and emptying his hand and maybe taking care of the red mana for Viktor. But no Sinkhole, just a pass. And here we see a Tundra being played by Viktor. Tapping 3. Are we going to see a Surrender Befreed? Yep, there's a Surrender Befreed. So a 3/4 flyer from Arabian Nights. And this means 3 more damage for Ishaan. He's going to drop to 11. I mean, this is so bad. What a horrible start for Ishaan here. 9 damage dealt thus far with that single Vice. Great start for Viktor, of course. There we see a duel. And okay, there's an Hypnotic Spectre. At least it can jump the Surrender Befreed. And Viktor finally taking some damage from his own Surrender here, going to 19. Yeah, and Ishaan here really in a difficult position. Probably has to jump the Surrender here. I mean, could also say, you know what, I'm just going to go to 8 because I'm already losing. Take 2 more from the Vice, drop to 6. That would be very risky. I mean, Ishaan, like I said, he can also argue I'm already with the back against the wall. I'm just going to take the damage. But he's not. He's going to jump here. So he's going to stay on 11 for now. There's another plateau. Viktor here untapping again. Okay, tapping 3. Another Surrender, perhaps. Another Surrender Befreed. Wow. Yeah, this is so tough for Ishaan. This is going to be a very quick game on number 1 here. I think Ishaan are dropping to 9, of course. Still taking damage from the Vice. That Vice has done so much work. I mean, 11 damage just dealt by that Black Vice alone. Really showing the strength of the Vice in a format where you don't see a lot of Moxen and Lotuses. There we see another Bayou, so 4 mana. But I don't really think there's a card that can save him here. It's going to tap 4. What are we going to see? I mean, he wants to empty his hand, right? Counting cards in hand. Okay, there's a Medusum Djinn. Yeah, it's a cool, beautiful card, but it's not going to help him here. As a matter of fact, it's going to deal even more damage to him. Of course, Medusum Djinn, the 5/5 that deals 1 damage to you during your upkeep. And 2 damage here for Viktor, by the way, from his own Surrender. So he's on 17. He can now swing in for 6. And put Ishaan on 3 and then maybe finish it off with a Bolt or a Chain. Attacking with both, so dealing 6 here probably. Exactly, Ishaan tapped out as well. Of course, he's going to drop to 3. Is it now the end of the road here in game 1 for Ishaan? That's the question. Does Viktor have a Chain Lightning or a Lightning Bolt or perhaps a Psionic Blast? No, I don't think so. He's going to pass the turn. Okay, so I mean, Ishaan's living 1 more turn. It's going to drop here to 2 thanks to his own Medusum. Of course, he can at least swing in with Medusum. And I think... Oh yeah, he had 4 in hand, right? So didn't take a damage from the Vice, or... Nope, picking up the cards. Not even going to swing in here saying, you've got this, there's nothing I can do. So that means game number 1 won here by Viktor. And now both players are going to dive into their sideboards, and we will catch back up with them in game number 2. Game number 2, here we go. So it's Ishaan, of course, on the play after losing that first one. And let's see if he can make it into a 1-1, or is Viktor going to win here the finals of X Points 48 in this game? We're going to find out. And we see Elves of Deep Shadow here being played out by Ishaan. So the 1-1 creature from the dark, you can tap it for black mana, but then it does deal 1 damage to you. And of course, this is quite good, and maybe Ishaan can now next turn play Ice Storm or Sinkhole. But let's first see what Viktor can do on his turn 1. There's a Volcanic Island. and passes the turn. So at least there's no Vice. Remember that Vice dealt a lot of damage. Of course, Vice not as good when you're on the draw, so perhaps Viktor even boarded it out. And here we see a Pendelhaven, by the way, so he can now pump it with the Pendelhaven. That's exactly what he does. Deal 3 points of damage or not. And there's a moment there. I thought Ishaan was pumping with the Pendelhaven. There we see the Bolt still. I'm going to kill the Elves of Deep Shadow here. And then second main, there's a Demonic. So he's going to look up something. What is it going to be? That, of course, really depends on his hand. Could be, for example, a Soul Ring to maybe next turn play out an Urnum. Or a Juzam Jin. Could also be a Mind Twist, perhaps. Just lots of options here for Ishaan. Could also just be land removal. Or maybe just a land. Maybe short on lands. That could be the case as well. But I'm sure we're going to find out sooner or later. Viktor here playing out his Acacian Javelineer, a 1/1 creature from Fallen Empires. That comes into play with a Javelin counter. And you can tap the Javelineer to take off the Javelin counter and then deal 1 damage to any target. So it's kind of like a Tim, but only has 1 bullet. And here we see a Forest. Ooh, Ishaan taking it back. Gonna go for City of Brass. Gonna tap 3. It's gonna take a damage. Gonna drop to 19. Okay, there's an Hypnotic Spectre. 2/2 flyer. Passes the turn here to Viktor. So let's see what Viktor can do. Finding another plateau. I mean, hopefully for Viktor, he's got another Bolt, right? You want to get rid of that Hypnotic as quickly as you can. Yep, there's a Chain. Does exactly the same thing. So Chain Lightning here. Killing the Hypnotic Spectre and then attacking for 1. So Ishaan dropping here to 18. And there's a pass turn. 4 cards left in hand for Viktor. Passing the turn back to Ishaan. Let's see what he can do. I mean, 4 mana is kind of the sweet spot for his deck, right? Because then he can start playing out his Juzams and Urnums. He's going to tap 4, going to take a hit. Oh, there's a Mind Twist. Yeah, so he probably looked up the Mind Twist then. With that Demonic Tutor. And now Viktor gets to keep 1 of the cards. And Ishaan really has the upper hand here with that Mind Twist play. Taking care of 3 cards here. Let's see what they are. 2 planes and a Surrender Befried. Ooh, that Surrender Befried would have been really nice for Viktor next turn. Viktor gets to keep 1 card. Let's hope for him that it's an Ancestral Recall. First, he's going to attack here with the Javelineer. So Ishaan's life total drops here to 16. There's a Plains. Passes the turn here. Let's see what Ishaan can do. Tapping 4 again. And okay, there we see Juzam Jin, 5/5 powerhouse. The poster boy of Arabian Nights. Yeah, now Viktor is in trouble. Needs to get rid of this 5/5. There's a Strip Mine. It's going to strip the Pendelhaven here. 1 card left in hand for Viktor. And one of the things, if that 1 card is a Bolt, he can actually kill the Juzam with that. Because if he attacks, Viktor can block on the Javelineers, tap the Javelineers to deal an extra point of damage, and then play the Bolt. That would be exactly 5 points. But it's not happening, though. Viktor taking the hit here, losing 1/4 of his life, dropping to 15. Ishaan tapping 3. Untapping again. Tapping 4 instead, taking a hit. From his own city, there's an Urnum. Yeah, and now you really see, like I said, 4 is the sweet spot here for Ishaan. Now you really see him playing out his bigger creatures. Urnum, Juzam, kind of overwhelming his opponent with sheer power. And this is going to be really tough for Viktor. He's going to tap a white. There's his Savannah Alliance. The problem here is that these creatures have 5 toughness. It's just so hard to deal with for Viktor. It's going to get Forest Walk there to, not quite sure. I guess to the Javelineers. Here we see Viktor pointing at it. So the Javelineers has Forest Walk. Not very relevant, I think, but who knows? And if Viktor decides not to block here, he's going to take 9. He'll drop to 6. There's an Ice Storm. Probably going to the Volcanic exactly. So that means no more blue mana for Viktor. There's the attack here with the Juzam and the Urnum Djinn. Yeah, this is so bad for Viktor, because he can deal 4 damage, but it's just not enough, with these 5 toughness creatures. One of the reasons why Urnum and Juzam are just so good is that 5 toughness. And Viktor really in the tank here think, okay, if I take the damage, go to 6, what are my outs? Or should I chump already? It's going to take the damage, dropping here to 6. There's the Strip Mine taking care of one of the plateaus. There's a damage here being dealt to Ishaan, kind of showing that he's planning on chumping next turn. Or does he want to attack here with the Javelineer? I mean, you could say, I'm going to attack here with the Lions and then chump, the Juzam, go to 2 next turn. So there's the attack here. So Ishaan dropping to 9, actually. Wow, that's quite low. So maybe, Viktor can somehow still try to kind of squeeze out a win here in the second game. I mean, look at that. Ishaan's on 8. That's actually a little problematic for Ishaan. Like he can attack with both. Then it would deal 4 to Viktor. He would drop to 2. But that does mean he opens himself up. And the next turn he takes 2 more from the line. He would drop to 6. And then a double bolt is enough. And yes, Viktor doesn't even have double red. But what if he draws into a mountain and those 2 cards in hand are 2 bolts? I mean, there's a chance. But look at this. Ishaan choosing to take the small risk here, attacking with both, forcing Viktor to make this jump here. So the Occasion Javelineers is gone. And Viktor dropping to 2. Untapping here with the Savannah Lions. Does he have a mountain and a double bolt? That's the big question, because then he can win this. Which would be pretty crazy. Here we do see a City of Brass. He is going to tap 2. What are we going to see for 2? Okay, there's a Chaos Orb. Oh, he can actually stretch it another turn. Wow, because he can use this City of Brass, go to 1, flip on the Juzam. He can wait, of course, with that. He can first, give Ishaan a turn so he deals 1 more damage to him. So Ishaan dropping to 7 here, I believe. Wow, and now Viktor can flip, of course. Yeah, Ishaan attacking. So probably going to see, I think the line... Yeah, what are you going to flip on? Because you could say line in front of the Juzam because you want to kill the Urnum because the Juzam hurts Ishaan. And then again, of course, the Juzam is 5 power. Anyway, first let's see the flip here by Viktor. Oh, it's a miss. Oh, it's a miss. And look at that, Viktor picking up the cards. It's like, oh, man. I would have loved to see that hit. Also to know if you were pointing at the Urnum or the Juzam. I guess the Juzam, right? But then again, you could also argue it was lethal. Urnum was lethal. Juzam was lethal. So might as well just go, block Juzam, go for Urnum because Juzam still deals damage, like I said. And I mean, Ishaan was pretty low, despite the fact that he was super dominant in the second game. I mean, he was on 7 life. He was really pretty low. And in a deck with Viktor where you play with so much direct damage, I mean, if he's on 6, it's double bolt. Anyway, win here for Ishaan. That means it's 1-1, and we're going to go to an all-decisive game number 3. Game number 3. Here we go. The big decider with Viktor, of course, on the play. So that's a plus for him, of course, here in the finals. Starting with an Occasion Javelineers, the 1/1 creature from Fallen Empires that we also saw in game number 2. Passing the tourney to Ishaan. And it looks like Ishaan perhaps took a mulligan here if I look at the card count, or maybe it's the old card count. It looks like he's got now 6 cards in hand, so that would mean that he's taken a mulligan. There's the attack with the Javelineers. Ishaan dropping to 19. Also a plateau played out by Viktor. Not followed up here by another creature, just a pass, so no Savannah Lines. Also no Black Vice. Ishaan drawing here for turn. Gonna drop a Pendelhaven, so we're not gonna see a sinkhole here. I mean, the thing here, okay, it's gonna tap Pendelhaven. Is he gonna play out an Elves of Deep Shadow? Because that's kind of, you know, asking almost for Viktor to use that Javelin counter then on your Elves of Deep Shadow. Maybe Ishaan's in the tank because of that, because you can also consider to wait one more turn so that you have your Pendelhaven to pump up the Elves of Deep Shadow to protect it from that Javelin counter. So yeah, Ishaan really in the tank here. Of course, it is the finals, you know, the decisive game, so it makes sense that you take your time. You really want to think your place through. There's the attack here with the 1/1 Javelin again, the Javelineer. So Ishaan dropping to 18. Or we're going to see another land drop and perhaps a Surrender Befried from Viktor. And also Viktor, of course, taking his time. Playing out an island, so now has enough mana to cast a Surrender Befried if he has one in hand, of course. I guess he doesn't because he's passing the turn. 5 cards still in hand for him, passing the turn back to Ishaan. And let's see what he can do. You know, if he can find, I won't say another swamp, he could potentially cast, if not Expector, but finding a forest instead. So is he going to go Forest Elves of Deep Shadow? Going to tap 3 instead, so I guess not. Okay, there's an Ice Storm. Taking care of the red source, destroying the plateau. Passing turn. And Viktor playing out a Volcanic, attacking again. So, that, I mean, the Javelineers has already dealt 3 points of damage. Pretty impressive for a little Javelineer. 5 cards again left in hand for Viktor, passing the turn. So, Viktor not doing too much. Really giving Ishaan the opportunity here to take the initiative. Playing out a City of Brass. Tapping 4. Are we going to see a Juzem? Nope, it's an Urnum. But it's the big boys for sure. Playing, of course, with the full playset of Urnum Djinns and Juzem Djinns. So there's the 4/5 Urnum Djinn. And we saw, of course, in game 2 how difficult it is for Viktor to deal with these creatures that have 5 toughness. There's a City of Brass here by Viktor. Also tapping the Volcanic, so it takes the damage from his own city, drops to 19. There's a Chain Lightning. Okay, is he gonna play 2 cards to get rid of 1? That's what I'm trying to say here. Chain Lightning and Lightning Bolt to destroy the Urnum and the attack of the brave Javelineers. I mean, the Javelineers just keeps attacking, you know. 4 damage already dealt with a single Javelineers. Ishaan is on 15 now. Let's see what he can do. There's another land. Does he have another Urnum? Gonna tap 4, perhaps a Juzem, because he's gonna go for double black. Exactly, Juzem Djinn hitting the board. 5/5 powerhouse from Arabian Nights. One of the cards that's still really high up on my wish list, but they're just ridiculously expensive. And here we see another Icatian Javelineers. And one of the things here again that Viktor can do if he has a bolt in hand, right, is block on a single Javelineers, take the Javelin counter off, deal 2 damage to the Juzem that way, and then play a bolt. But let's first see what's going to happen here. Ishaan, of course, took a damage from his own Juzem, dropping here to 13. And Viktor's still pretty high in life on 19. I wonder if we're going to see the Dark Heart of the Wood that's in the sideboard of Ishaan here in the 3rd game. Okay, there's an Elves of Deep Shadow. And a Birds of Paradise. So kind of inviting Viktor here to use one of the Javelin counters on the Birds of Paradise. There's the attack with the Juzam. And let's see what Viktor's going to do. It's going to take the damage, okay. It's going to drop here to 14. There's a strip mine on the volcanic island. And there's a pass back to Viktor. So Viktor's on 14. I mean, has to find an answer again now to a big creature. You know, got rid of the Urnum with a Chain Lightning and a Bolt. And now has to face the Juzam. Playing out another Plains. Gonna tap 3. What are we going to see for 3? Oh, it's hard. Lots of glitches. Okay, it's a Falling Star. Okay, that's pretty cool. So Falling Star, you need to flip it. And then every creature it hits takes 3 damage. This Falling Star could be a really, really big deal. It could be a game changer. Wow, so this is going to be a very important flip for Viktor. We saw him, of course, missing a flip in the second game. Okay, so I wonder, I guess it's the Juzam, is that the, now he's pointing out what is what, of course, we can't hear it. But I would make sure I would hit the Juzam, right? You want to hit the Juzam, that it deals 3, and then use your Javelin counters to kill it off. Oh, he's hitting everything! Wow, this is huge. Well done here for Viktor. And now he, of course, can take the Javelin counters off to kill the Juzam here. Yeah, this is a game changer. Ishaan losing 3 creatures due to a single Falling Star. This is huge. Ishaan has to rebuild here in the finals. Game number 3. This is really tough for him. 2 cards in hand now. It's looking bad all of a sudden for Ishaan. Both players on 13, I believe. Okay, there's a Mind Twist. Okay, that's good. That can take care of the hand here of Viktor. But, I mean, Viktor still has 2 Occasion Javelineers. And, yeah, it's hard to see the cards. Unfortunately, the connection at Viktor's end is not great. I think it's a Psionic Blast here and a City of Brass. And that Psionic Blast is a big deal. And now he can, of course, still attack with the 2 Javelineers. Going to put Ishaan here on 11, I believe. Exactly, going to drop to 11. 1 card in hand for Viktor. I mean, if that's like a Serenum, that would be ideal, right? You can just keep attacking, put more pressure on the life total of Ishaan. But I guess it's not, or else he would have played it out already. So thinking about it, that 1 card in hand. It's a land, going to go for Strip Mine. Stripping away the swamp here. Kind of forcing Ishaan that if he wants black to use the City of Brass, I think it's really good here to go for black. Also because a lot of the cards in Ishaan's deck require double black. Sengir Vampire, Juzam Jin. Hypnotic Spectre, of course. All those cards need double black that now Ishaan doesn't have. And look at this. Viktor continues attacking with his Brave Javelineers. Ishaan on 9. 3 cards in hand, passes the turn back. It's not looking good for Ishaan here. 2 cards now in hand for Viktor. Again, the attack dropping to 7. Is Viktor going to win the X Points Finals number 48? More pressure on the board here in the form of a Mishra's Factory passing to Ishaan. Ishaan needs to do something here. He's on 7. Viktor's on 13. Oh, passes the turn. He can now take 4, a hit of 4, right? If he animates the factory, he can attack for 4, put Ishaan on 3, finish it off with a bolt or a chain. Is this the end of the road here for Ishaan in the finals of X Points number 48? Animating, attacking, swinging in for 4. Okay, there's a crumble. That's good news for him. So he's going to go to 5, so perhaps he's going to live another turn. I mean, 5 is still not great, but it's definitely better than 3 when you're playing against a red mage. Drawing for turn. 5 in hand. Or 4 cards in hand, I mean 5 life in total. Passing the turn back to Viktor. Can Viktor finish it here? Attacking with both of the Javelineers. They've done so much work for Viktor here in game number 3. There's a Sarah Angel hitting the board. Sarah coming in from the sideboard. 11 life left for Viktor. Of course, taking damage here from his own City of Brasses, but who cares? Forest, and I think that's it. Whoa, yeah, look at that hand. Needed that double black. But that was a really well-targeted strip mine by Viktor, taking care of that second black. And what a finals, and congratulations, Viktor. You are the winner of X Points Final 48 with your Loin Dib Bolt deck. Well done. And while we are taking a look at the winning deck, so again, congratulations, Viktor. I would just like to thank you for watching another episode right here on Timmy Talks, the channel where we talk old school magic. And before you go, please take a moment to like, comment, and share on this video. All these things are free and really help the channel move forward. And talking about moving forward, you can also become a patron of the show. Check out patreon.com/TimmyTalks to find out how you can support the channel as a patron. And the cool thing is, when you become a patron, you can join the Timmy Discord, and you can also join into all the Timmy Talks events. And if you become a patron at the Protocol Sorcerer level or up, your name will also be mentioned in the end scroll at the end of every single video. What end scroll? This end scroll.
What shall we do with the drunken sailor? What shall we do with the drunken sailor? What shall we do with the drunken sailor? Early in the morning, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises, early in the morning. Putting in the longboat until he's sober, putting in the longboat until he's sober, putting in the longboat until he's sober, early in the morning. Way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises. Rises early in the morning. Pull out the plug and wet him all over. Pull out the plug and wet him all over. Pull out the plug and wet him all over. Early in the morning. Way hey up she rises. Way hey up she rises. Way hey up she rises early in the morning. What shall we do with the drunken sailor? What shall we do with the drunken sailor? Put him in the scouts to the husband's son. Put him in the scouts to the husband's son. Put him in the scouts to the husband's son. Early in the morning. Way hey up she rises. Way hey up she rises. Way hey up she rises early in the morning.
Igitus figitus sumba kazee.